Hello! I play a lot of video games, and over the years, I've gathered a lot of recommendations. I'm here to tell you what games you should play because I really like them. I've picked out 6 so I can talk a bit more in-depth about them, but just so you know, I highly recommend all of these games. I've actually got a ton more in a big list that's got over 30 games in it, so I'll probably make a few more of these videos. I'm gonna try and keep them indie titles and maybe even lesser known ones. You don't need me suggesting games like Titanfall 2, Stardew Valley, or Hi-Fi Rush. You should have already played them. To start us off, yeah, you know it was coming. Let's get it over with. Cassette Beasts. I've gone on record saying that this is my favorite video game of all time, and that still holds true. If there's one thing Cassette Beasts does right, though, it is combat. It's so mechanically different from any other monster taming game out there, like Pokemon or another game that's on this list. Type effective moves deal a bit more damage. Yeah, but they also come with special effects. An electric move insulates steel type, and they take extra damage whenever an electric move is used. It's also got unique types like glass that shatters when it's hit by physical moves, or glitter that turns whatever it hits into a glitter type. Typing plays such a huge role in the game, it's the shiny Pokemon equivalent, where it has the beast change types into any of the possible 14. Sometimes having the right type is more important than having the strongest move. Moves are also incredibly unique. I've seen other games in this genre that use a stamina-like mechanic, but Cassette Beast is super unique. You get 2 action points each turn, and you're able to earn more or less depending on certain moves or type interactions, and you can spend that energy on each move. The stronger the move, the more energy it costs, but you also always have the option for a 0 energy move or a cheaper move to keep the farm going. Every fight is also a 2v2, each member having their own unique energy pool. It adds another deep layer to the combat loop that just has me addicted. The game also has what I can only describe as vibes. It's such a melancholy yet uplifting atmosphere. From the somber tunes of the wilderness, to the energetic fight themes, to the sad but encouraging theme of the main city. Of course, the game named after cassette players would have a great soundtrack. The game also features fusion, and when fused, some tracks gain vocals. I have friends who say Light Chimeras have single-handedly sold them on the game, and one of the songs is my ringtone. No, seriously. The game explores the themes of teamwork, rebellion, transformation, and the loss of the world we knew before. The story is, I'll be honest, just alright. It sees you hunt down archangels to get home, and ranger captains, the gym leaders, to get stronger. It's really nothing crazy unique, but the writing itself is really good, and the main antagonist is fantastic. The world feels alive and lived in despite its size. There's a farm, cities, a half-sunken ship, a massive mountain to climb, and a floating island. The island has so many landmarks it's nearly impossible to get lost. The art style isn't anything amazing. It's not bad, but it feels very simple. However, watching sprites come alive in a 3D world really gives it that oomph it needs, and it looks great. You'll see a few more games later in the list that follow this, but I absolutely love seeing 2D sprites in a 3D world. I think it's a very fantastic look. Basically, play the game. Even if you just want to catch all the goobers and don't care much about fighting and battles, the game has accessibility sliders to make the game easier or harder depending on your preference. It's easily overtaken my life, and my wallet, over the past year, and I've had to cut so much from this section to make it a reasonable size. Of course, the link to play it will be in the description of the video, so you can go pick it up, and the other games at the end. I don't get a kickback or money from you using these links. I genuinely just love these games that much, and I want an excuse to rant about them. Also, the game has funny box physics. Cassette Beast has also crossed over with another game, and I can't be happier they chose this one. Moonstone Island is a game I found so addicting, I played a whole 23 hours of it in the first 3 days I owned it. The game is such a beautiful pixel art style. Only once before have I loved looking at flowers and clouds inside a game like this. Speaking of clouds, the game has an amazingly unique style, with it taking place on floating islands, so you'd see the clouds and the birds flying beneath you. There's a deeper story with the Cataclysm, but I won't spoil anything here for you. The entire world is also randomly generated, giving a new batch of islands to play on each time. The game is a farming, monster taming, deck builder fusion that is addicting to play. You can carry a small team of spirits around with you, each one with their own attributes and abilities that you can choose from. You can level them up and choose which stat gets a buff, as well as add new cards, and then you can upgrade cards to stronger versions or get rid of cards you don't want. Personally, I've never been a huge fan of deck builders, but with each spirit bringing their own expertise to the fight, it was incredibly fun to learn and put together a team. And you know I had to use Pom Bomb in there somewhere. The game also has farming elements, which are pretty good. The sprinklers are simple and easy to craft, and they do their job well. It allows a nice farm to go by pretty easily, and the plants that can grow are incredibly unique and fun to see. Each island has its own type and its own flora that you can collect and regrow. Like, the electric island has stun flowers and electric cones, and the fire islands have fire flowers and coal berries, each season bringing more unique crops to harvest and grow. You can then use these plants to brew potions or give gifts to the local residents. You live on an island with a couple other people who you can talk to, give gifts to, buy from, date, and eventually marry. They'll then live with you in a house that you can decorate. In fact, you can decorate just about anywhere. The game is filled to the brim with awesome decoration tools, from rugs, to chairs, to hot tubs, to a statue that costs like 10 million gold. The decorating aspect of the game is part of what sold me on it, and it was so much fun building my own little area. You want to come over to the cookout? The game doesn't have a super deep storyline, but it's chill enough to be relaxing, but the fights still have good weight to them. The elemental system isn't as deep as Cassette but the armor system is incredibly fun to play around with, and is an integral part of fights that I can't imagine the game without. Every system feeds into each other super well, and the game is so beautiful to look at that I can't get bored of it. The game also has a skill tree for each segment that allows you to craft your own special build. The game is absolutely fantastic to both look at and play, and yes, I did buy all of the DLC. The game is also still gaining active updates, so there's no better time to hop in than now. To step away from Monster Tamers for a bit, I want to talk about my favorite genre, 3D platformers. I do play a lot of shooters, but what's a shooter if it isn't a 3D platformer with guns? Pseudo Regalia was recommended to me by a friend earlier this year, and I couldn't be happier they did. And I was absolutely floored with it. From the incredibly amazing graphic style and with how faithfully it sticks to it, and then the addicting style of movement the game has. The game hasn't wowed me with its movement like this one had in a long time. It's a Metroidvania with a massive interconnected world full of unique locations. A massive theater, a huge grimy dungeon, the open castle city, and a whole tower for you to climb. The game picked an art style and stuck to it so faithfully, even the UI is low resolution. Every enemy's attack uses low quality sprites and models, the textures for the walls are fittingly crunchy and repeating, and the animations are still able to look great despite the limited models. But the game's movement is what did me in. It's so clean and tight, every action having what feels like a perfect use case, but can be used in so many unique ways out of that. A massive wall that looks almost unclimbable? Easy pickings. The game rewards your skill with upgrades and more abilities, allowing you to trek even deeper into previously unexplored areas or beat time trials you couldn't before. Each time trial rewards you with an outfit for Sybil, the playable character, but my favorites are the Knight one and the Purple Gold one. They're all unique though, and a great incentive to try and complete all the time trials. The level design is also fantastic. The time trials having you work through smaller areas over and over until you find the perfect timing and routes, but the whole map design is great. Areas I thought impossible to traverse through until I got another upgrade just required some smart movement or approaching the problem from a different angle. I can't stress enough how good the movement in this game is. There's so many different moves to string together that the game will just let you figure it out, and the lack of hand-holding was great. It allowed me to problem solve and face down puzzles, and if I wasn't feeling it at the time, I could leave, explore a different area, and come back with a new move and a fresh mind. The game is oddly calming, despite all the treacherous or precise movements you'll have to do. The music all has this sweet melody inside of it, focusing on long and drawn-out elements in the music for a lot of areas that's just beautiful to listen to. I, again, can't stress how good the movement in this game feels. It sold me on the game, and I've spent hours just running through the levels with how good it all is. If you like 3D platformers or Metroidvanias, then I can't recommend Pseudo Regalia enough. Another 3D platformer with a much different vibe than the darkness of Pseudo Regalia is the happy and bright world of Here Comes Nico. It's a simple but fun 3D platformer collectathon filled with all kinds of cheery characters and fun dialogue. The game is cut up into a few different worlds, with each one having a cool and unique vibe. You have a forest on a mountain, a big pool, and a Japanese-inspired spa resort. The game also has all the charm you'd expect from a game I love, from the cute and bubbly art style to the delicious-looking water, the fun writing, and all the cute jokes the game has. It's also got that patented 2D character in a 3D world idea that I've fallen in love with just some really adorable artwork. The whole game has this relaxing and chill vibe to it, with music that allows you to become lost in its world. It's not a long game, but with how much there is to do and see, you can feel it stretch on in the best of ways. There's also a lot of different challenges to spice up gameplay. There are little flower pot puzzles that aren't difficult to complete, but they feel good to do so. There's a fishing minigame where you get hooked and then jump at the fish, and whole platforming side sections inside of an arcade machine. There's also volleyball that gets more and more insane each level you visit, and every interaction for each of these is oozing with personality and fun writing. Nico themselves are a fun character, applying to become a professional friend at Tadpole Incorporated, a company run by frogs that just leads itself to a ton of gags. The game does have a sad angle to it, as the reason Nico seems to be job searching is kind of depressing. I won't spoil it here. Go buy and play the game. I'm telling you, it's good, but the game is deeper than it seems to let on, even if just slightly, and I think that's pretty cool. The game is also just fun to traverse. You've probably been able to gather that I really like games with cool movement, and Here Comes Nico is no exception. Not as complex as Pseudo Regalia, or as fast as a game like The Messenger, which I should talk about sometime, but the level design is built around Nico's moveset in such a way that even jumping from rock to rock feels fun and exciting. They even released a whole massive level that's just platforming challenges, and it was a ton of fun to play. The game really knows when to let you have fun and explore this cute world, and when to reel it in and hit you in the feels. Of course, the game also knows when to be funny and show that the devs were clearly enjoying and are passionate about the game they made. You can even meet Prototype Nico in one of the final levels of the game, who makes fun of you for replacing them as the playable character. Here Comes Nico is full of such charm, and it makes me smile, and I could get lost in it for hours and never grow bored. Also, the game has funny box physics. If you're more into exciting adventures, then CrossCode is the one for you. A fast-paced, isometric MMO with a deep and rich storyline and even more involved skill tree and gameplay that puts every other game to shame. Oh, wait, did I say MMO? Sorry, I meant false MMO, as the story of the game you're playing is that you're playing an MMO. The other NPCs you see on your journey are actually meant to be other players, having to log off after playing all day or having their own rich lives and emotions that shine through. The artwork is also with such a beautiful pixel art style that's so detailed and expressive, and with so many frames for so many unique characters and enemies and bosses. I'm surprised the artists, all 5 of them, were able to make this in such a timely manner and have it look as good as it does. I'm trying to only show footage from the first few areas, because this is actually a massive game, taking anywhere from 30 to 40 hours to beat, and then double that for 100% completion, and I want you to go play it. I like to fancy myself a bit of a writer, and the story in this game makes me freak out in the best way possible. It's full of fantastic plot twists that make sense in the world, deep and rich character writing, and it's made me sad and happy and angry in all the best ways. Not a single character is one note. Each character has a complex set of emotions and different worldviews. It's such a genuinely well-written game, I'm blown away every time I replay it. The music is also as good as the artwork and story, all 82 unique tracks composed by a single musician. It's exciting and energetic when you're fighting bosses or participating in the raid, but it's also nice and adventurous when you're exploring the autumn trails or the icy paths. The music is mastercrafted for every scene, and I've been using the music from this game in videos as far back as like October 2020, the same year I discovered it. And the combat, it's so fun and fluid. Each move leads into each other, and as soon as you think you've got a grasp on it, surprise, sucker, there's an element system. With 4 different elements to get and use and master, with each having their own special moves, the moveset of Leah is so genuinely customizable that it's unlikely you'll have the same moveset as someone else. The moves themselves are so fun and unique, and yeah, I'm not spoiling the late game ones, go play it yourself! Leah's moveset is so interesting, with basic attacks being able to be comboed into special moves, and then dodging and then blocking as soon as you're done dodging. And that's without mentioning her special Spheromancer class, which allows her to throw these extremely unique energy projectiles that I really haven't seen another game do. CrossCode is such a uniquely beautiful game that I would love to go all in on it someday, but I have to stop myself here before I shout even more words at the heavens. It has a real emotion behind the writing. passion behind the art and the gameplay, and a warm, cozy feeling that is sometimes brought down by the existential dread of reality, but it and the characters it houses I love so deeply that I have a massive poster of the game hanging right above my computer. Probably the quote-unquote sleeper pick for this list, we have Unbeatable White Label. It's a rhythm game, and, confession, I'm really bad at rhythm games. I've been actually playing a lot of them recently to try and help hone my reaction time for games that require it. Unbeatable stood out to me instantly, not just from the pretty colors, but from the way it looks. Yes, this is the third game on the list to be 2D characters in a 3D world, but come on, it's such a good aesthetic that I love so much. The game is seemingly simple, with 2 lanes to keep track of, but the game will swap from what side the notes come from, hold notes, double hit notes, these big guys I think you just spam on, I don't remember the tutorial introducing them, and double notes. The game will change super quickly what you need to hit on each side, especially on the harder difficulties, and with my terrible sense of timing, I have yet to beat a song on the hardest difficulty. The songs themselves are absolutely fantastic. I don't know if I can play in the music since it's an in-universe band, and many different people are credited on the songs themselves. On YouTube uploads, it credits a band. I couldn't find anything on their website saying it's good or anything, but it's all absolutely great, and I'll have an official playlist of the soundtrack linked in the description below. It's got such a wonderful vibe, especially with the guitar, that I have fallen in love with. The style of the game is also just unparalleled. I wouldn't say many games have sauce, but this game is slathered in it. The bumping of the black letterboxing during gameplay, the different notes being styled after little monster guys, and the fact that Beat actually fights the incoming demon notes. The whole presentation of the game is incredible. When you hire all the UI designers. When selecting a song, it's a cassette tape you put into the player. The whole game has this really pretty static filter over it. The font choice is incredible, and the opening menu and settings menu are so stylish, it makes me feel good. The game is so good at style that the overworld segments are great. Beat is a genuinely funny character, and the other characters bounce off of each other so well, I'm upset that this game is only a demo. Oh, right, this is only the demo. The full game is slated for 2025 release, and White Label is just the suffix for the demo. The demo only has a few cutscenes and interactable scenes, but the final game looks like it's going to have a ton, and I'm so excited for it to be released. Now is a good time to hop on and practice for the full release, because I'm going to be grinding the game for achievements and get as high of a score as I can get. The demo is also completely free, so I would highly suggest checking it out even if you think the game looks the slightest bit interesting. I've been wanting to make a video like this for probably years at this point. Indie games are probably my favorite type of game to play, and if you know any for me to check out, leave them in the comments below. I have a list of 20-odd, 30 now indie games I wrote down as candidates for this video, so there'll probably be another one soon, maybe even with some of the games recommended to me by you on that list. I think I covered most of the corners of my interests. You've got monster tamers, platformers, an action-adventure, a rhythm game, just tons of different genres I enjoy and hope you enjoy. Again, links to everything I covered will be in the description, specifically the Steam store for all of them. And I have not been sponsored to talk about any of these games, nor do I get a kickback if you do purchase them. I just really like these games and want to talk about them. Make sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe to stay up to date with my going-ons and the other videos I make, and if you disliked the video, then send me a very strongly worded letter tied to the leg of a carrier pigeon. Thank you for watching, thank you even more for checking out the games, and I will see you next time. There is a big storm on the way, and I need to wrap this up. The game is filled to the brim with awesome decoration tools like rugs, to hot chairs,